Welcome back to Capital Catch-Up, your inside look at the machinery of Washington. I'm Victor.
And I'm Lenny. It has been a blistering week for the 119th Congress. We are looking at a schedule packed with high-stakes nominations, a raft of veteran-focused legislation, and some truly headline-grabbing committee maneuvers.
Headline-grabbing might be an understatement, Lenny. We have to start at the top of the ticket. The Senate has received the nomination of Kashap Patel to be the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation for a 10-year term, replacing Christopher Wray.
That is a seismic shift in the intelligence community. Patel has been a polarizing figure, and this confirmation process is going to be a litmus test for the Senate. But that's not the only personnel move shaking things up. We also saw Russell Vought, a familiar name from the previous Trump administration, nominated for board positions at both the African Development Foundation and the Enter American Foundation.
It signals a very specific direction for international development policy. But while the Senate gears up for those confirmation battles, the House is inching toward a massive political confrontation. We need to talk about the Rules Committee activity regarding House Joint Resolution 142 and two very specific House resolutions.
Right. House Joint Resolution 142 is a disapproval resolution, essentially Congress stepping in to overturn a D.C. Council tax law. But the real fireworks are in the oversight reports recommending that the House find both William J. Clinton and Hillary R. Clinton in contempt of Congress.
For our listeners who might not follow procedural drama, contempt of Congress isn't just a stern letter. It's a formal declaration that an individual has obstructed the legislative process, usually by ignoring a subpoena. If the full House votes on this, it refers the matter to the Department of Justice for potential prosecution. It's a rare and aggressive move against former First Families.
It definitely sets a combative tone. However, amidst that political theater, there is actually a surprising amount of substantive policy moving through the chambers, particularly regarding civil rights. Did you see House Resolution 7046?
I did. The Qualified Immunity Abolition Act of 2026. Now this is fascinating. Qualified immunity is the legal doctrine that often shields government officials, including police officers, from being personally sued for violating constitutional rights. Abolitioning it has been a rallying cry for civil rights groups for years. Seeing it introduced now suggests a unique coalition might be forming around government accountability.
Accountability seems to be the theme. We also have Senate Bill 3583, the Upward Mobility Act of 2026, and House Resolution 5788, the 504 Program Risk Oversight Act, which looks at tightening the reins on Small Business Administration loans. But Victor, I want to pivot to a block of legislation that impacts a very vulnerable population, our veterans.
The docket is absolutely full of vet-related bills. We're looking at House Resolution 7047, the Health Care for Homeless Veterans Act, and House Resolution 7049, which focuses on mental health coordination for that same group.
It's crucial legislation. We also have the Clean VA Act, House Resolution 5932, and the Veterans Law Judge Experience Act, House Resolution 659. When you look at these together, along with the committee hearings scheduled on veteran suicide prevention and the Warriors to Workforce Act, it's clear that the 119th Congress is trying to modernize the VA from the ground up.
Absolutely. And speaking of modernization and safety, there is a cluster of public health bills that will impact families directly. First, Senate Bill 272, the Protect Infant Formula from Contamination Act.
That is vital. After the supply chain scares we had a few years ago, parents need that assurance. We also saw Senate Bill 921, known as Tyler's Law. This would require emergency rooms to include fentanyl testing in their standard toxicology screens. It's a tragic but necessary response to the overdose crisis. Many people don't even know they've ingested fentanyl until it's too late.
We also have Senate Bill 1157, focusing on women and lung cancer research, and House Resolution 7050, the Homeopathic Drug Product Safety, Quality, and Transparency Act. That last one is interesting. It looks like Congress is finally moving to regulate the homeopathic market more strictly, ensuring those products actually contain what they say they do.
Changing gears to technology and the economy, privacy is back on the table. Senate Bill 836, the Children and Teens Online Privacy Protection Act, looks like an update to the old COPPA laws, trying to adapt to the current social media landscape. And Senate Bill 3585, the Data Act of 2026, suggests a broader push on data governance.
And it's not just digital data, it's physical resources too. There was a notable committee hearing on deep-sea mining and regulatory barriers. This ties directly into House Resolution 4090, the Critical Mineral Dominance Act.
That's a huge geopolitical issue. If we want electric vehicles and advanced tech, we need minerals like cobalt and lithium. The U.S. is clearly trying to figure out how to get them without relying entirely on adversaries. Speaking of which, the Transportation Committee is holding a hearing on embedded threats, specifically looking at foreign ownership and hidden hardware in our transit systems.
It's a nervous time for national security. Even the Coast Guard is in the spotlight with a hearing on how they combat narco-terrorists on the high seas.
Before we wrap up the legislative pile, we should mention the judiciary. The Senate is moving fast to fill vacancies. We saw nominations for Ernest Gonzalez in Western Texas, Megan Blair Benton in Western Missouri, and several others.
And Andrew Benson for U.S. Attorney in Maine. They are moving personnel through at a rapid clip.
Victor, we should also touch on the Congressional Daily Records. We have volumes 172, numbers 15 through 20, covering late January. For listeners who don't know, the Congressional Record is the official transcript of floor proceedings.
Right. Reading through those, specifically the January 28th edition, you get a sense of the daily grind. Members reading statements on the Pregnant Students' Rights Act, House Resolution 6359, or debating the Explore America 250 Act regarding our national parks. It's the day-to-day governance that doesn't always make the evening news.
Exactly. And looking ahead, there is a fascinating hearing scheduled regarding the Washington Accords, involving President Trump, the DRC, and Rwanda. That's a major foreign policy pivot in Africa that we'll need to watch closely.
So what should our listeners keep an eye on this week?
Watch the Rules Committee. If those contempt of Congress resolutions regarding the Clintons hit the floor, the partisan temperature is going to skyrocket.
And watch the Qualified Immunity Bill. If that gains bipartisan traction, we could be looking at the biggest criminal justice reform in decades.
That's it for this edition of Capital Catch-Up. We'll be tracking the votes so you don't have to.
Thanks for listening.